In 2024, 798 truck drivers went to work and didn't come home. Not 798 who were reckless, not 798 who ran red lights or ignored the signs, 798 who did the job the way it's supposed to be done, on roads that were already decided to kill somebody that day, and the somebody turned out to be them. Tonight, we're counting down 15 of those roads, from bad to the kind of worst that makes experienced drivers call their families before they roll. Let's get into it. Number 15. Interstate 90, South Dakota, Murdo to Rapid City. There's a joke drivers tell about South Dakota. They say the state has two seasons, winter and road construction. The punchline is that road construction is more dangerous. And if you've run Interstate 90 across the middle of this state in February, you're not laughing, you're nodding. The stretch from Murdo to Rapid City covers about 160 miles of high plains that the wind treats like a personal project. The Missouri Plateau sits at around 2,500 feet, which sounds modest until you realize there is nothing, and I mean absolutely nothing, between you and the Canadian border to slow that wind down. Not a hill, not a tree line, not even a suggestion of terrain. Just you, your trailer, and 40-mile-per-hour crosswinds that show up without a forecast. South Dakota Department of Transportation logged more than 1,000 weather-related crashes on this corridor over a recent 5-year window. Blowover incidents involving high-profile vehicles are common enough that the state posts wind advisories the way other states post speed limits, as a regular condition, not a warning, a condition. The mechanism here is invisibility. The road looks fine, the sky looks manageable, and then a gust hits the broadside of a 48-foot trailer and introduces you to the ditch at a speed you didn't agree to. Empty trailers are the most vulnerable. And in South Dakota in January, there are a lot of empty trailers moving between nowhere and nowhere. The other number that belongs here is response time. The nearest trauma center to the middle of this stretch is in Rapid City. If your day goes wrong near Murdo, the ambulance is coming from far enough away that the golden hour becomes more of a suggestion. Drivers who run this corridor know it. They run it fueled, rested, and with their eyes on the sky, not just the road, because out here, the sky is the road. Number 14, U.S. Route 491, the Four Corners region. This one used to have a different name. For decades, it was U.S. Route 666. Some people called it the Devil's Highway. The federal government eventually renumbered it in 2003, partly because the 666 signs kept getting stolen by people who thought they were being clever, and partly, I suspect, because the accident history was starting to embarrass the designation. Renaming it didn't fix the road. It just changed what you call the thing that's trying to kill you. US 491 runs through the Four Corners region, cutting through the Navajo Nation across New Mexico, Colorado, and Utah. 2 lanes for most of its length, minimal lighting, long straight sections that convince drivers to push the speed up, followed by sudden curves that punish them for listening to that advice. The road passes through communities with limited access to emergency services, which means response times on a bad day run long enough to matter in the worst way. The crash history on this corridor is documented across decades. Head-on collisions are the signature fatality here, which is always the story on a 2-lane road carrying freight and local traffic on one yellow line with no forgiveness built in on either side. There's also the cultural weight of this road that deserves a sentence. The communities along it have fought for safety improvements for years. Passing lanes, lighting, rumble strips, some came. The road is still 2 lanes through long sections of reservation land where the nearest hospital is far enough away that distance is its own category of danger. The mechanism on 491 is false confidence. The road opens up, the scenery is legitimately stunning, and somewhere in your brain the threat level drops. The truck ahead of you in the oncoming lane brings it back. The cost is the head-on you couldn't avoid because there was no room to avoid anything. Number 13, Highway 78, Imperial Valley, California. California's reputation for dangerous roads lives in the mountains and the fog and the Inland Empire distribution corridor. Nobody talks about the Imperial Valley until they've driven it in July. And after they've driven it in July, they don't stop talking about it. Highway 78 cuts through the Sonoran Desert east of San Diego, connecting the agricultural machinery of the Imperial Valley to the coast. Summer temperatures out here regularly hit 115 degrees. Not heat index, actual air temperature, the kind of heat that does things to tire pressure, to brake fluid, to engine coolant, and to the mental state of a driver who's been sitting in a cab that a truck stop shower isn't going to fix. The road carries a mix of long-haul freight and agricultural traffic, farm equipment, produce haulers, water trucks, and workers moving between fields. The speed differentials between those categories of traffic are significant, and the road's geometry doesn't buffer them. The California Highway Patrol has flagged this corridor repeatedly in its annual traffic safety reporting. Heat blowouts are common enough here that locals treat them as weather events. A steer tire letting go at highway speed in 115 degrees on a two-lane road through a desert is not a breakdown situation. It is a survival situation. And the tow truck is coming from El Centro or Brawley with a response time measured in the kind of patience you don't have when it's 115 in the shade. Assuming there's shade, which there isn't. The cost in the Imperial Valley is the heat itself. It degrades everything. The truck, the tires, the driver, and the road surface underneath all of it simultaneously. Everything fails faster out there than the maintenance schedule expected. Number 12, Interstate 10, El Paso to Van Horn, Texas, 110 miles. 110 miles of Chihuahuan desert between two cities with a mountain range in the middle. Wind advisories that the Texas Department of Transportation posts so routinely they've stopped being news, and a pass through the Sierra Vieja that does things to a loaded trailer that the driver at the bottom of it wasn't prepared for at the top. The wind in this corridor is structural. It comes through the mountain gaps with the focus of something deliberate. Sustained crosswinds of 40 to 50 miles per hour are documented events on this stretch, not outliers. And the gaps between the ranges act as funnels, which means the wind accelerates exactly where the road bends to meet it. Blowover incidents on this section of Interstate 10 are documented by Texas Department of Transportation in numbers that should get more national attention than they do. Light trailers deadheading east out of El Paso are the most common victims. An empty trailer in a 50-mile-per-hour crosswind through a mountain gap is an aircraft that forgot to file a flight plan. The isolation compounds everything. Van Horn has services, El Paso has everything. In between is 110 miles of terrain that will not help you if something goes wrong. Cell coverage in the gaps is inconsistent. The distance between highway patrol stations is measured in the kind of miles that make a dispatcher nervous. The mechanism is the gap effect. Drivers crossing New Mexico on Interstate 10 build a rhythm. The rhythm carries into El Paso. El Paso feels like a city, which it is, and then the city ends and the gaps begin and the wind was already there before you arrived. Number 11, U.S. Route 93, Nevada. Somebody in the Federal Highway Administration once sat down and calculated the average distance between services on US 93 across Nevada, and I'd like to know if they're okay, because the number they got back should have triggered a wellness check. US 93 runs 570 miles through Nevada from the Arizona border near Hoover Dam north toward Twin Falls, Idaho. Through the middle of it, you've got stretches of 60 to 80 miles between fuel stops. 60 to 80 miles in a state where summer temperatures in the valleys hit 110 and where winter on the high desert plateaus comes in sideways and doesn't introduce itself first. This is where Nevada's truck fatality numbers live. Not in Las Vegas, not on Interstate 15. Out here on two lanes through valleys that the map shows as empty because they are empty, and empty is the whole hazard. A mechanical failure on US 93 in January north of Ely is a different category of problem than the same failure on any interstate in the country. Because on an interstate, somebody finds you. On 93 in the middle of Nevada in January, you are doing the finding yourself. The mechanism on 93 is attrition. The road doesn't have a signature crash type. It just slowly removes every resource you'd normally reach for when something goes wrong: fuel access, cell signal, passing traffic, emergency services, daylight, and then it waits to see what you do without them. The cost is self-reliance you didn't know you needed until you needed it in the dark, 40 miles from the nearest anything. Drivers who run this road carry real emergency gear, not a flare and a phone charger, a real kit, because 93 will test it. Number 10, Interstate 70, Kansas, Colby to Salina. People who don't drive trucks think Kansas is boring. People who drive trucks through Kansas in a February wind event would like to have a word with those people. Interstate 70 across central Kansas is as flat as advertised. The road is straight, the lanes are wide, the grades are minimal. And that's the problem. Because all of the things that make terrain feel dangerous, hills, curves, grades, those things also slow the wind down. Kansas has none of them. So the wind, which in western Kansas runs without interruption from the Rockies to Missouri, does whatever it wants to a high-profile vehicle moving at highway speed with nothing to negotiate against. The Kansas Turnpike Authority and KDOT both maintain records of wind-related incidents on this corridor that are frankly startling. Blowover events, jackknifes initiated by crosswind gusts, and multi-vehicle crashes triggered by a single truck losing control in a wind event occur with enough regularity that the state's dynamic message signs spend a significant percentage of their operational lives displaying wind warnings. The Colby to Salina stretch is specifically problematic because of the grade change near Hayes, where the terrain drops slightly, and the wind, which was already doing 60, picks up the change in elevation like a gift and hits the exposed side of whatever is in the right lane with additional enthusiasm. The mechanism is the lull. Wind events on Interstate 70 don't run constant, they gust. And gusting wind on a flat interstate is harder to manage than sustained wind on a mountain, because on the mountain you're already tense. On a Kansas interstate in sunshine, you've had the cruise set for 2 hours and your guard is somewhere back near the Colorado line. Number 9, U.S. Route 50, Nevada, the loneliest road in America. The federal government put that on the sign. They called it the loneliest road in America. AAA told people in 1986 that they'd need survival skills to cross it. That was meant as a warning. Nevada turned it into a tourism campaign, and I respect the hustle. I really do. But if you're running freight across it in a truck instead of sightseeing in a rental, the loneliness is not a selling point. US 50 crosses Nevada for about 400 miles through some of the most remote terrain on the continent. The highway climbs and drops through 7 mountain passes between Ely and Fernley. Austin is the only town with services for a stretch of about 170 miles. One town in 170 miles, named optimistically. The crash data on US 50 reflects exactly what isolation produces when things go wrong. Response times are long, medical transport times are longer. And the terrain, while legitimately beautiful in the way that things are beautiful when they're trying to kill you, offers no mercy when a tire goes, when a brake line fails, when the weather on one of those 7 passes decides to make a point. Winter on the Austin Summit and the Pancake Summit and the Diamond Mountains is a different discipline than anything the lower 48 interstate system prepares you for. Ice in the mountains in October, snow through May. And the passes themselves narrow the road to the kind of geometry that a loaded truck handles with seriousness and a rental car handles with a very expensive lesson. The cost on US 50 is the commitment. Once you're in it, you're in it. There is no parallel route, there is no alternate, there is only the road and the distance and whatever you brought with you. Number 8, Interstate 10, Arizona, Tucson to Phoenix. The haboob doesn't warn you. That's the part everybody who hasn't seen one needs to understand. It doesn't build gradually the way a thunderstorm does. It doesn't give you a darkening sky and a shift in the wind and a few minutes to make a decision. A haboob is a wall, an actual wall of dust, sometimes a mile high, moving at 40 to 50 miles per hour across desert terrain. And when it reaches Interstate 10 between Tucson and Phoenix, visibility doesn't decrease. It ends. Not low visibility, zero visibility. The difference matters. Arizona Department of Transportation has documented multiple mass casualty events on this corridor tied directly to dust storm conditions. The worst in recent memory came in 2010 near the town of Stanfield, when a dust storm generated by a massive haboob triggered a chain reaction involving multiple vehicles, killing several people and injuring dozens more. The NTSB findings were direct. Drivers failed to stop. They pulled off but kept their lights on, which in a zero visibility dust event turns your truck into a lighthouse that other confused drivers aim at. The protocol Arizona now promotes has a name. Pull aside, stay alive, turn off all lights, foot off the brake, wait. It sounds simple. It is genuinely difficult when a wall of nothing is wrapped around your cab at 2 in the afternoon on a road you've run 100 times. The mechanism on the Tucson to Phoenix stretch is the combination. It's not just dust. It's dust plus the volume of Interstate 10, which is one of the primary freight arteries on the southern tier. Lots of trucks reduced to zero visibility on a road with no shoulder wide enough to truly disappear from. The cost is the wall you didn't see until it was already on you. Number 7, Highway 2, North Dakota. North Dakota has an oil boom that nobody planned for and a highway infrastructure that nobody upgraded to match it. Highway 2 runs across the northern tier of the state, 2 lanes through the Bakken Formation, which is producing oil at a volume that requires a constant stream of trucks moving equipment, water, pipe, chemicals, sand, and finished crude across a road built for wheat farmers and the occasional snowplow. In the years following the Bakken boom, North Dakota's traffic fatality rate spiked in ways that made national news. Williston became a boomtown, and the roads feeding it became something else. Highway 2 carries a truck mix that, at peak oil activity, represented a dramatic percentage of overall traffic volume on a two-lane road, through a state that experiences whiteouts from November through April with no advanced scheduling. The whiteouts here are the signature hazard, North Dakota ground blizzards, where wind picks up existing snow and reduces visibility to feet rather than miles on a road that was perfectly clear an hour earlier, are a documented and recurring event on this corridor. The State Department of Transportation manages an alert system. The wind doesn't consult it. Response times in the remote sections between Minot and Williston run long. The terrain is flat and open, which sounds like it would make rescue easier, and it does unless the weather that caused the crash is also preventing access, which is frequently the case in a North Dakota winter event. The mechanism on Highway 2 is the mismatch, oil boom traffic volume on highway infrastructure from the 1950s in the most severe winter weather environment in the lower 48, with response times calibrated for the population that was there before the boom. Number 6, U.S. Route 160, Southern Colorado and New Mexico. Drivers who've run Colorado think they know mountain roads after Loveland and Wolf Creek and Monarch. They've smelled their brakes, they've learned the grades, and then U.S. 160 hands them a road that never bothered developing a reputation because it didn't need one. The Colorado side crosses the San Juan Mountains through Wolf Creek Pass, which already earned its place on the mountain pass list and every word written about it. East of the divide, the road drops into the San Luis Valley and continues into New Mexico through remote reservation land with the infrastructure gaps that define the Four Corners corridor. 2 lanes, limited services, long response times, 2 different kinds of danger with no break between them. The mechanism is the handoff. You survive the mountain and relax. The desert was already waiting. Number 5, Interstate 10, West Texas, Van Horn to Pecos. You've already run 110 miles of mountain crosswind through the Chihuahuan Desert to get here. Congratulations. Your reward is another 100 miles of West Texas where the elevation drops, the road straightens into something hypnotic, and the Permian Basin traffic starts feeding onto Interstate 10 from the south. This is the connector between 2 of the worst corridors on this list. It inherits the isolation of the Van Horn segment and the truck density of the Permian Basin simultaneously. Pecos has services. Van Horn has services. Between them, a breakdown in the wrong spot becomes a logistics problem before it becomes a rescue operation. The mechanism is cumulative fatigue. The road looks like rest after the gap. It isn't. It's just a different kind of demand dressed up as straight pavement. Number 4, U.S. Route 550, New Mexico, Bloomfield to Bernalillo. New Mexico's entry is a road the state's own Department of Transportation has spent years trying to fix, and that keeps generating data faster than the fixes can catch up to it. 100 miles south from the Four Corners area through the Jicarilla Apache Nation. 2 lanes, logging trucks in the north, commuter traffic building toward Albuquerque, a fatality rate that earned its own dedicated safety study. The signature crash is the head-on. The canyon sections south of Cuba limit sight lines, eliminate shoulders, and narrow passing opportunities to the kind of margins that logging trucks don't fit comfortably inside. New Mexico added passing lanes, rumble strips, better signage. The crash rate improved. The traffic volume grew faster. The math didn't resolve. It never does. Number 3, Highway 129, Deals Gap, North Carolina and Tennessee. The Dragon. The motorcycle road. The YouTube road with the biker videos and the rubber ground into the pavement. That one. Yes, because here's what those videos don't show you. They don't show a loaded flatbed negotiating 318 curves in 11 miles. They don't show what a 40-foot trailer does to the inside of a curve that a Ducati floated through at 70 like it was choreography. 318 curves. Officially. Somebody counted and posted a sign about it, which is either a warning or a dare, depending on what you're driving. For motorcycles, this is an attraction. For a commercial vehicle, it's a gauntlet that some dispatch system routed you onto because the software saw a paved road connecting 2 points and called it a solution. It is not a solution. It's 11 miles of hairpin geometry with no shoulder, limited pull-out options, and the constant possibility of a motorcycle coming the other direction faster than the curve allows either of you to react. The incidents cluster in the tightest sections, which is also where the scenic overlooks stop recreational traffic cold. which is also where the road drops away fastest on the outside of the turns. The cost is the curve you can't see around and the load that can't stop in the distance it allows. The GPS didn't challenge you, it just didn't care. Number 2, the Dalton Highway Alaska Route 11. Everything above this on the list is still civilization. Hospitals exist within reach. Tow trucks eventually arrive. And then there's the Dalton, and civilization is something you left behind in Fairbanks and won't see again for 414 miles. Built in 1974 to service the Trans-Alaska Pipeline. Not built for you. Built for the pipeline. You're there because the pipeline needs things and you're the person who brings them. 170 miles of unpaved gravel. Frost heaves on the paved sections that become airborne events at speed. Rocks on the gravel sections that destroy windshields with the casualness of a weather event. Drivers on the Dalton carry spare windshields the way other drivers carry extra fuel. Because you will need one. One hospital on the entire corridor. Coldfoot, mile 175. North of that, you're not in a breakdown situation. You're in an evacuation situation, and the evacuation may require a helicopter and a weather window that medical emergencies don't wait for. Winter temperatures run to -70 degrees Fahrenheit, not wind chill. Air temperature. At -70 degrees, diesel gels, hydraulic fluid thickens, and metal becomes brittle in ways the engineers who rated your equipment never intended you to find out. Drivers who run the Dalton don't describe it to people who haven't done it. They wouldn't know where to start. Number 1. U.S. Route 285, the Permian Basin, Texas, and New Mexico. You've seen this road before. It was number 1 on the deadliest corridors list. It's number 1 here. Some roads earn a reputation once. 285 keeps re-earning it with fresh data every reporting period. 10,000 commercial trucks a day on a 2-lane road built in 1926 for farm traffic pulled by something that ate hay. Nobody planned for the Permian Basin boom. Nobody planned for horizontal drilling and hydraulic fracturing, turning this corner of West Texas into the most productive oil region on the continent. The boom came anyway, and it came to a road with no median, no shoulder, and no political mechanism fast enough to build either before the trucks arrived. In 2017 alone, 93 people died on the Texas stretch. Loving County, population 60, went from 18 crashes to 103 in a single year. The math there is not about the residents. The Texas Department of Transportation committed hundreds of millions through the Permian Promise. Passing lanes went in. And the most recent crash data showed something that should stop you cold. Total crashes went down. Fatal crashes went up. The road is safer and still getting more deadly per collision than before. In 2018, a driver named Joe Gomez told the Houston Chronicle what he does before he rolls 285. He prays. That's not drama. That's a professional acknowledging the real terms of the job. Experienced hands in the Permian Basin don't say goodbye before this run. They say stay alive on 285. 6 words. That's the farewell. That's number 1. That's the 15. From a wind-scoured stretch of Interstate 90 in South Dakota, all the way down to a 1926 farm road carrying the American oil economy on 2 lanes and a prayer. And notice what the list kept whispering. None of these roads are dangerous because of one thing. Connecticut is old design plus volume. Wyoming is ice plus wind plus out-of-state drivers who treat Tuesday like a surprise. And 285 is all 15 mechanisms at once on the same 2-lane road with the same 10,000 trucks and the same absence of margin that it had the day it opened 100 years ago. The other pattern is us, 798 drivers in 1 year, the most of any job title in the country. Mostly not reckless, mostly just on the wrong road at the wrong moment, with the wrong combination of factors that nobody handed them a complete list of before they rolled. Now it's your turn. Drop the route in the comments. Not the exit, the route. The corridor where you called somebody before you started the run because you wanted them to know you were starting it. Somebody's rolling it tonight for the first time and hasn't learned it yet. And if this list earned a mile on the map you carry in your head, subscribe. It's still the only thing in trucking that's free. Until next time, keep the rubber side down, the shiny side up, and stay alive out there.